بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم
الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله
أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. Before we start, I request you to say special prayers for people in Pakistan who are suffering from devastating floods, and even those who are surviving, have lost their homes and their cattle and their crops, etc. So please pray to Allah to show mercy to those people. And secondly, for the people who are sick, especially Brother Jalil in Italy, who's very ill and needs our prayers, and Brother Ali and his daughter is ill and she needs our prayers, and of course everyone else who is in difficulty. Today I'm going to continue with what I did 2 weeks ago, and the title was this, which is chapter 3, verse 102. And I've given this sermon the title, Hold Fast by Allah's robe, part 2. واعتصموا بحبل الله جميعا ولا تفرقوا واذكروا نعمة الله عليكم إذ كنتم أعداء فألف بين قلوبكم فأصبحتم بنعمته إخوانا وكنتم على شفا حفرة من النار فأنقذكم منها كذلك يبين الله لكم آياته لعلكم تهتدون. And hold fast by the covenant of Allah, hold together and be not disunited. And remember Allah's favor to you. When you were enemies, then He united your hearts. So by His favor you became brethren. And you were on the brink of a pit of fire. Then He saved you from it. Thus Allah makes clear to you His messages that you may be grateful. Sadaqallahu al-Aliyyul Azim. And I want to talk about this verse. I talked about it in general terms when I delivered the khutbah from Berlin. But now I want to come to specific things. And the first of these is my trip to Berlin. Our Jamaat, a very small community, very few people. They decided to build a mosque in Berlin in 1920. This is more than 100 years ago. But they were dedicated and they collected funds and they devoted parts of their income for this task. And in 1924, a magnificent mosque was completed in Berlin. And then came the Second World War and the mosque was damaged. And in that, we must remember the lady who was the caretaker of the mosque, Amina Moskler, who, although there was bombing and everything, she never left the mosque. She made sure that the mosque was open 5 times every day for prayers. And even when the Russian tanks and guns were attacking the mosque and advancing towards the mosque, she still remained there. And the mosque therefore needed repair. Some patchwork repairs were made every now and then and so on. But a few years ago, the mosque was in need of major repairs. That mosque is now recognized by the German government as a historical mosque. And therefore, there are restrictions on how you can renovate it. And the government monuments department got involved, and they appointed architects and so on. And the architects came up with a huge bid. And they said it will take 10 years to repair this mosque. It's such a huge task. But we all pulled together. We said, no, 10 years is too long. We want this done in our lifetimes. How many of us are going to be alive in 10 years? And we managed to do it in 3 years. And we managed to raise funds from all the different sources. When you think about how small our community is. And if you ever go to Berlin, go and look at this mosque in the Brenner Strasse. And you will marvel. You will marvel at the achievement of this small community. And how did we achieve it? It was by acting on just this one verse of the Holy Quran. Hold fast by Allah's rope and be not disunited. And God says, it was Allah's favor that you were each other's enemies. You were going to kill each other. But He made you friends and He made you brothers. And so this unity and fighting each other, God says, is like being on the brink of a pit of fire. And you see, this applies to communities, this applies to families. It applies to all the groups which live together. Whether it is a family, what happens to a family that is fighting all the time? If one person, one brother or sister or someone needs help, they go to their brother or sister. What are they going to say? If they're fighting, what are they going to say? Are they going to help them? No, they're not. And it can lead to big problems, it can lead to small problems. But when people are united and they pull together, that doesn't mean that they don't disagree with each other. Yes, if you are presented with a problem and you have to solve it, you sit down and you discuss it. One person is going to say that, this is the solution. Another person is going to say that is the solution. But once you decide what the solution is, whether you were in favor or you were against it, you must all pull together. This is the only way to success. If you just end up arguing all the time, then how are you going to achieve anything? Take the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam's example. Muslims heard that the enemy was coming to attack them, and it was quite a large force. And the Holy Prophet Muhammad called a meeting, and he suggested that Muslims stay in the city, in Medina, and defend it from inside. But the majority decided against the Prophet's advice that no, we are going to give battle in open field. And once the majority had decided, the Holy Prophet went into his house and he put on his armor. When he came out, people said, well, we're very sorry, we disagreed with you and so on. And he said, it doesn't matter. The majority has decided. Now we are going to stick to that decision. No family, no government, no state, no organization can work unless you agree on your fundamental principles. If you're going to have dictatorship, then have dictatorship. One man decides. Whatever he decides, everyone does. But if you're going to have democracy, then once the majority has decided on something, then all your differences should disappear. And in the countries where this doesn't happen, we see there is complete chaos. There are elections, one party forms the government, and the other one, rather than helping the government by pointing out the errors in their policies, set out to disrupt the government. So the government can't govern. So who suffers? If the government in this country can't govern, I mean, at the moment, we don't have a government. They're having elections for who's going to be the next leader of the Conservative Party, and he's going to be the Prime Minister. But, I mean, look at it. Energy prices have gone up today, doubled. People's salaries haven't doubled. Now, if gas and electricity prices are going to go up, then you're going to, everything's price is going to go up. But there is no one to decide what to do because we don't have a prime minister. So, this is why you need someone who's the boss, who's in charge, and you need a method for making decisions. But God says, whatever method you have, never become disunited, never start bickering. Once you've made a decision, then stick to it. And we've seen the results of that. Both our Jamaat stuck together and we completed, I've just come back from Berlin and we completed the repair of this magnificent mosque. And people are astounded because they think there are millions of Lahori Ahmadis. There are not millions of Lahori Ahmadis. In the whole world, maybe there are, I don't know, 250,000, something like that. But because they held together with the rope of Allah, they achieved this magnificent achievement. And then I came back and there was a 3-day conference in Berlin, in Oxford, at Oxford University. So I attended that. And it was in a way a very good affair. Why? Because what Lahori Ahmadis have been saying for 125 years, these Muslim academics and professors and researchers are coming to exactly the same conclusion now, 125 years later. And it was great to see one speaker after another saying that unless Muslims in general start changing their thinking, then Islam will not succeed. I mean, in those countries where Muslims are in a majority, you can force people to be Muslim, you can force them to do things and so on. But what about the United States? What about Canada? What about the United Kingdom? What about Europe? Muslims are not in a majority here. How will they cope? And there were many things. Position of women. People were saying, why can't women be leaders? And I pointed out that in 1978, we elected a lady as president of our Jamaat. Many times, ladies have delivered the Eid sermon, the Friday sermon, and so on. And they were astonished that there is this organization that has been doing this for over 100 years. And there were some ladies there who were arguing that, women should be allowed to lead prayers and all this kind of thing. And I just said, well, in our organization, in our community, they do. But the point I want to make is this. These changes do not happen in one day. It's taken 125 years to get to this point. And the founder of the movement, Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad Sahib, the Mujaddid, he said that these people won't listen to me. Their children won't listen to me. Their grandchildren won't listen to me. And he said once their great-grandchildren have died and passed on, then after that, people will start listening to what I'm saying. And this conference in Oxford was an example of that. Apart from one issue, on everything else, the fact that hadith needs to be treated with care because it was written 300 years after the Holy Prophet Muhammad. The fact that the Holy Quran should be our primary source of knowledge and information. Once the Holy Quran says something, then there's no point in coming up with some other book and saying it says this, because the Holy Quran is the book of Allah, the word of God. So when Allah has spoken and decided and said something, then why should you say that some other book written by a human being says something different? And of course, there are some negative things which happen as well, to which we have to respond. Some years ago, I heard that a news channel ran a program on which they made very insulting remarks about their movement and the founder of the Ahmadiyya movement and so on. And they were saying that if you see an Ahmadi, you should beat them up, you should kill them, and so on and so forth. I don't remember the exact words, etc. So some people complained about that program, and I was one of those people to say that, look, this is not right, that you should air programs in which people tell others to attack a community. Yes, you can disagree, you can discuss, that is fine. We're not asking everyone to agree with us. And it went into an investigation, and it went on and on and on. And last week, I saw a news item which said that that television station is no longer broadcasting, and its owner has been fined £40,000. All of these things, whether positive or negative, come about because, as God says, hold fast to covenant of Allah. Hold fast to covenant of Allah. You depend on Him for help. You don't go to A and B and C, and you don't start negotiating, as people do in politics. I'll support you in the parliament if you make 3 people of my political party ministers in the government and so on. You solely and solely depend on God, on Allah, whatever your difficulties. Pray to God, and your prayer should be, "Oh Allah, make me steadfast. Never let me complain and say, why has this happened to me?" And if I just mentioned one verse of the Holy Quran, and the results of following its teachings. Can you imagine how successful we'll be if we followed all the teachings in the Holy Quran? So I want to say congratulations to you, both for the Berlin Mosque, the Oxford Islamic Conference, and even the banning of this television station that was creating hatred and division amongst Muslims rather than trying to unite them. Barakallahu lana wa lakum fil Quranil Azim wa nafa'ana wa iyyakum bil ayati wa zikril hakim innahu ta'ala jawadul kareem malikun barrautur rahim. Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah, nahmaduhu wa nasta'inuhu wa nastaghfiruhu wa nu'minu bihi wa natawakkalu alayhi wa na'udhu billahi min shururi anfusina wa min sayyiati a'malina man yahdihillahu fala mudilla lahu wa man yudlilhu fala hadiya lahu wa ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasul. Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ala ali Muhammadin kama sallaita ala Ibrahim wa ala ali Ibrahim innaka Hamidum Majid. Allahumma barik ala Muhammadin wa ala ali Muhammadin kama barakta ala Ibrahim wa ala ali Ibrahim innaka Hamidum Majid. Allahumma ansur man nasara dina Muhammadin sallallahu alayhi wa sallam waj'alna minhum waqsul man khadala dina Muhammadin sallallahu alayhi wa sallam wa la taj'alna minhum. Ibadallah rahmakumullah, inna allaha ya'muru bil adli wal ihsani wa ita'i dhil qurba وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون. اذكروا الله يذكركم وادعوه يستجب لكم ولذكر الله أكبر والله يعلم ما تصنعون. Line up, please. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. Hayya al-salah, hayya al-falah, qad qamatis salah, qad qamatis salah. Allahu Akbar, la ilaha illallah. Allahu Akbar. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen Ar-Rahmanir Rahim Maliki Yawmiddin Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in Ihdinas siratal mustaqim Siratal ladzina an'amta 'alaihim غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. Allahu Akbar. Sami Allahu liman hamida.
Rabbana lakal hamd.
Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen Ar-Rahmanir Rahim Maliki Yawmiddin Iyyaka وإياك نستعين اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. قل أعوذ برب الناس ملك الناس إله الناس من شر الوسواس الخناس الذي يوسوس في صدور الناس من الجنة والناس. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده.
ربنا لك
الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الطاهر. السلام. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. أستغفر الله. ربنا آتنا اللهم This is the end of Friday service for today. You need to say the two Sunnah prayers on your own afterwards. Finish the prayer. But our next broadcast will be on Monday at 7 p.m. to the Darul Quran, and at 7:30 reflections on the Holy Quran. So I hope we'll see you there. Until then, with the prayer that whoever you are and wherever you may be, I take my leave of you. Assalamu alaikum. Khuda Hafiz. Goodbye.